matters before the House, and we'll see what the House will come up with.
MPs have said that they don't have confidence that you can treat them fairly. How do you respond to that?
I would ask them to judge me on what I end up, the decisions that I make, and I think any decisions that I've made so far in terms of.
But given that, do you think that you can continue?
Have been considered to be entirely appropriate.
But do you think you can continue given that lack of confidence in you?
We'll allow members to make that choice.
That's House Speaker Greg Fergus today as he faces new calls to resign. Right now, as we speak, a Conservative-led motion to oust him is being debated in the House of Commons with a vote expected at about 8:30 Eastern tonight. The Tories say there are concerns over Fergus's, quote, alleged lack of impartiality after language attacking Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was used to promote an event in his riding. The Liberal Party later took responsibility for the ad and apologized to Fergus, but it's not the first time his critics have found him to be too partisan. Here's how the debate over Fergus's future played out in the House ahead of tonight's vote.
The current chair occupant has proof that they're not fit to be in that chair. But the last time I looked, in baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. And we got the Speaker now on 3 different occasions, or actually this is the 4th occasion, that he has done partisan activities and given partisan speeches.
The claims today being made against the Speaker of the House are fake.
We have seen an unparalleled attack on the Speaker in social media by Conservative MPs, and their comments unbelievable.
The vote, as I mentioned, takes place about 3.5 hours from now. First, we have MPs right here live in studio to debate the issues. Deputy Government House Leader Mark Gerritsen is with us. Next to him, Conservative Deputy Whip Chris Warkentin. And next to him, NDP House Leader Peter Julian. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. A warning to our audience, there may be a chance you have to vote through your phones in the middle of this. So if people see you holding them up, you're not just being really rude to me. It's actually democracy taking place. Let's get into the issue. Mr. Gerritsen, I'll start with you. I know the government supports Mr. Fergus and Mr. Fergus remaining in this role. But the fact that he has lost the confidence of the 2 largest opposition parties, that they do not believe he can be unpartisan, is that not in and of itself a problem?
Well, I mean, I think that it's questionable whether they ever had confidence in him. Both the Conservatives and the Bloc have been very clear almost since day one that they were not supportive of this particular Speaker. But I will say, you know, with this particular issue, the Speaker had absolutely nothing to do with it. It is very clear, and the party has come forward and said they made an error in automatically populating an event that was happening in the Speaker's riding, and as a result, you know, it impacted Mr. Fergus negatively. But he didn't do anything wrong, and in my opinion, this is just another opportunity that unfortunately we're seeing come from Conservatives about finding another way to be absolutely disruptive in the House in order to try to, you know, tear everything down and make our democracy dysfunctional, and that's what we're seeing right now.
And I do take your point on what the Liberal Party said and this incident, if in isolation. But I think the point to the opposition parties, it's not just the Conservatives, to be fair, it's also the Bloc Québécois, is that this event did not happen in isolation. And they point to the video, for example, that Mr. Fergus had to apologize for back in December, in which he appeared in Speaker's garb for then interim Liberal leader of the Ontario Party, John Fraser. If there was nothing for them to be upset about, you know, would that not be the case?
What are they upset about exactly? This is the question. I mean, like, I come from the riding of the longest Speaker of the House of Commons, Peter Milliken. I'm fully aware of the engagements that Peter Milliken would have in our riding, both political and non-political, during his time as Speaker. Andrew Scheer himself, who was Speaker of the House of Commons, went and had fundraisers, not just in his riding, but in neighboring ridings to his constituency. So what are they upset about exactly? Mr. Fergus has
language, right?
but Mr. Fergus has not demonstrated himself to do anything that, at least by my observation and accounts that are out there, that Andrew Scheer and Peter Milliken, for those 2 examples, hadn't done in the past.
Okay, Mr. Warkentin, let me take it over to you, because I think what the government is alleging is essentially your party has it out for Mr. Fergus. Do you?
Well, I can tell you that Mr. Fergus is a very, very, very effective partisan Liberal. That has been demonstrated through his entire political career. He is past director. He used to run the Liberal Party of Canada. That was his job. Incidentally, that organization now that is giving him cover for this this situation. So he is a very, very effective Liberal. He's been partisan. He has, through his entire career, served as the pit bull for the Prime Minister, defending the Prime Minister against other members of Parliament. As a matter of fact, when he was on ethics committee, we have testimony where Mr. Fergus has said that the Liberal Party would disregard the will of the majority of the House of Commons, or as reflected in committee, and just not comply. So this is not.
But Mr. Scheer became the leader of the Conservative Party. What's more partisan than that?
He was absolutely after he was the Speaker. There's no question about that. Now, the question is not if or not members of Parliament have fundraisers. That happens. We expect that Mr. Fergus will have fundraisers to raise money for his re-election. The issue is the partisan nature in which this Speaker has conducted himself in this example, as well as example and example. You know, there used to be a kind of a rule, after 3 strikes, you're out. This has been multiple strikes.
Okay.
Multiple strikes that have made national.
This incident.
No. Look.
Hold on.
He's had to apologize multiple times.
Okay, let me just intervene for a second. I just want to. You're right that he has had to apologize, and I asked Mr. Gerritsen about the first incident. In this incident, the party has said, "This is our fault. We're sorry." His office has said, "We actually even took our participation in this event to the clerk to make sure it was okay." Like, why, on the face of that, do you not believe it? What evidence do you have to the What evidence, with respect, Mr. Workman, did you have to the contrary?
Past behavior of the Speaker. There's been
That's
multiple.
not the same thing.
Well, it is the same thing, because the Liberal Party of Ontario came and gave him some defense for his speech at the leader of the Liberal Convention. It was now the Liberal Party of Canada giving him a defense in this case. I just don't believe that the Liberal Party of Ontario or of Canada is a reputable organization to give defense of nonpartisan activity. Well, I have the proof that Mr. Fergus has conducted himself in a partisan way in multiple times, having to apologize multiple times to the people of Canada. The question is when is enough? Enough.
I'll put that question to Mr. Julian, because, like I said, it's not just the Conservatives asking that. They're not. The Bloc is not aligned necessarily with the way in which this is unfolding, but they are not supportive of the Speaker. They do not believe him to be an unpartisan person. On the face of it, whether you support him or not, Mr. Julian, isn't that a problem?
First off, the Bloc is never going to support a Quebec federalist. That's very clear, and that's a position that the Bloc has taken in the House of Commons. The NDP are the adults in the room. When Anthony Rota made what we believe to be a fatal mistake, we were the ones, the first party, to call for his resignation, despite the fact that I thought he'd done a decent job as Speaker. As far as Greg Fergus, when he started, I think it's fair to say he made a number of mistakes. Initially as Speaker, it was referred to Proc. He paid a fine. He went through what we asked him to do. Since then, he has not made those errors. And the fact that the Liberal Party of Canada made the most egregious error in posting something that was disrespectful to the Speaker and disrespectful to Parliament is something that we called on the Liberal Party of Canada to apologize for, and they did.
Is there no responsibility, though, with the office of the Speaker and the Speaker himself? And I ask that because Mr. Gerritsen referred to Peter Milliken. There used to be a lot of insulation put around, a lot of procedures that were put in place during Mr. Milliken's era, specifically to address this issue. Is it not incumbent on, for example, the Speaker of the House, when he knows he's participating in a fundraiser, to make sure that kind of language isn't in an email?
But that's what he did. He ran it through the clerk of the House of Commons.
No, he made sure he could attend the event. He did not check
No,
the...
he ran the... Yes, I'm sorry, you're giving false information, Chris.
Okay,
he ran it through the clerk of the House of Commons.
That's right.
The posting that took place was without his authorization, without his knowledge. And
Correct.
that's why
I'm not disputing that. That's exactly as I presented the facts.
And that's why...
Is it not incumbent on him to make sure the posting is neutral, is not full of partisan language?
That's the point. But the Liberal Party of Canada blindsided him. That is why our criticism is of the Liberal Party. That's why we asked on the National Director to apologize to Parliament and to apologize to the Speaker, because what they did undermined the Speaker, and the Liberal Party of Canada should never, ever make that mistake again.
And that's
now,
a fair
as far as
criticism.
what we need to move forward on, the Conservatives would love to spend days and days discussing this. We are trying to get the pharmacare bill through that's going to help 6 million Canadians take diabetes medication, 9 million Canadians with contraception. So the NDP and Jagmeet Singh were focused on getting things through the House of Commons that are actually going to help Canadians. And I think the Conservatives trying to put the sideshow as front and center is detrimental to what Canadians need.
Let him finish. And I understand that point, and you're both making it. But on the same day that you are making it, the Conservatives released a letter saying they want to work with your government to get the foreign interference legislation passed as soon as possible. So is it fair to characterize this as just, antics in order to stop things from going forward?
Well, Vassy, I mean, like Mr. Workington here was talking about a reputation legislation and things happening over and over and over. Listen, you don't have to spend a lot of time watching what goes on in the House of Commons to recognize that the only thing that Conservatives do is try to prevent legislation from moving forward. Even legislation that they agree with, they will routinely talk down the legislation over and over and over, push the debate as long as humanly possible, and then when time comes to...
But you're the government. You're allowed to press time allocation. You're allowed to.
Well, but we would rather not to, because that's, we would rather do it in a way that respects and everybody's respecting the process. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is their objective. Their objective is to tear things down. Their objective is to prevent legislation from going through. It doesn't matter if it's in the best interest of the Canadians or not. It's just about taking away any possible win from the government to provide services that Canadians are depending on.
Do you think that's really what it's about, that they don't
absolutely.
have any genuine concerns over Mr. Fergus being partisan? Because, again, they're not the only ones raising those concerns.
If you look at the record of how Conservatives have acted, especially since Mr. Poilievre came along, in terms of the way that they have conducted themselves in the House of Commons to prevent anything from moving forward, Mr. Julian just made the point perfectly about, providing health care, providing dental care, providing child care spaces, providing a national school food program. All of these things, they slow down. We get to debate these things quite a bit, but quite often they prevent us from actually bringing these things to a vote. And this is how they do it, by occupying effectively 2 days of the House of Commons with this issue.
The allegation is very clear that Mr. Gerritsen is making, Mr. Warken, that your party is simply putting this, which isn't real, in the window in order to block them from getting any policy wins.
We do know why the Liberals want this Speaker to remain in office, because this is a Liberal Speaker who has served the Liberal Party very, very well. We know that. That is clear. That's become abundantly clear. The question is why the NDP continues to support him. Now, the question was asked is why Mr.
Could they not feel it's the right thing?
Well, it's clear to me that the NDP have to answer for themselves, and they did make it very clear that if there was another example of this type of partisan activity, again, they would be voting to remove the Speaker from his office.
That's
now,
ridiculous.
Mr. Julian, give it a moment. Give it a moment.
But here's the point.
Ridiculous.
Is why was the Liberal Party posting a local association fundraiser? That's an important question, because I can tell you one thing. No association has to tell the National Party that they're holding a local fundraiser. My association
But I mean, you're
would
charging
never,
that they came up with this giant lie in order to cover up.
I can tell you that if you're intending to be nonpartisan, why would you tell the National Party that this was happening?
But it's not against Mr. Gerritsen, let me respond. Mr. Gerritsen, let me respond. It's not against the rules for the Speaker to attend, right? That's why other speakers have in the past.
There's no problem with that.
What appears to be partisan is the posting, which the party has said, we did, we're sorry. You don't have proof that they didn't.
They say that it's an auto-populated description. You go through the postings, and the vast, vast majority of the postings are individually unique, and they have details about it with no partisan wording at all. I can tell you that we only found...
I did go through them, Mr. Julian. I'm going to give the last word to you. It's not the only instance. It has appeared in other instances, but it's not on everything. Mr. Julian, last word to you. You heard what Mr. Wilkinson is charging, essentially that you have said before that if there was another question of partisanship, that you would move to act on that. In this case, you're not.
On behalf of the Speaker, not by somebody else or another party actually posting something without his knowledge and authorization. If it had been with his knowledge and authorization, we would have taken a different tack. As I say, we were the ones that moved for the penalties in December. We were the ones that moved to ask for Speaker Rota's resignation. We take the job of Speaker very, very seriously. And if there are transgressions, yes, we will act. But the Conservatives aren't just attacking the Speaker here in the House of Commons in Ottawa. They viciously attacked an independent Speaker in the Saskatchewan legislature. And it's the same approach.
It's a different government, to be fair. That's a different government. I know that story. I get it. Scott Moe is not the same person. It's not.
Government is a former Conservative MP in Ottawa. Jeremy Harrison.
Is the allegation essentially that the Conservatives are here just to tear down the institution? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think it's fair to say that there is a lack of respect, whether they're attacking the Governor of the Bank of Canada, whether they're cutting...
They didn't make Mr. Fergus appear in that video.
No,
They didn't
absolutely,
start
which
the
is
ball
why
rolling.
we referred it to
Absolutely
procedure and
everything.
House Affairs, and we asked him to pay a fine. That was a transgression.
Okay.
This is not. And for the Conservatives to try to take up a week of House time
Yes.
on something when we
2
have
days right
pharmacare
now,
to
but
pass
yes.
that's going to help millions of Canadians,
Holding themselves
well, I
Okay.
just don't think they have a lot of credibility.
It's only 2
I
days 'cause we
appreciate.
limited it.
Okay, I appreciate the discussion and the debate very much. Thank you for making the time. I know you all have to go vote, and I have to take a commercial break. Mark Gerritsen, Chris Morganton, and Peter Julian